Hello dear friends, this video has been dedicated to all the women of God who never ever give up and who never ever quit. Now let's know about some great women mentioned in the Bible who has served as an inspiration down the ages. Sarah was Abraham's wife and the mother of Isaac. After being barren for so many years, God blesses Sarah and she conceives at the age of 90. Sarah's example teaches us that we can always trust God to fulfill His promises, even seemingly impossible ones. And her example as a wife highlights the importance of respect in a marriage. Rebekah was the wife of Isaac and the mother of their twin sons, Esau and Jacob. Like Rebekah, we are called to be faithful, modest, kind, generous, and pious. In Genesis chapter 25, verse 23, God spoke to her directly, telling her that the great promise would be passed to Jacob, not Esau. The story of Rebekah shows God's providence, prayerful intervention, and how we can work through our mistakes to carry out His will. Leah was the first wife of the patriarch Jacob. Her younger sister Rachel was his other wife. Leah was the mother of 7 children, 6 sons and 1 daughter. The story of Leah teaches us always to rely on God in prayer and not to allow distressing family situations to blind us to God's support. Like Leah, we are called to be kind-hearted, contented, and to always trust God. Rachel was the daughter of Laban, Rebekah's brother, and she was the favored wife of the patriarch Jacob. Rachel endured a difficult family situation without losing hope that God would hear her prayers. Some lessons learned from Rachel's life is that God is always in control. Things don't always turn out the way we expect, and that we need always to be grateful to God. Rahab was a prostitute who lived in the Canaanite city of Jericho, and she became a worshipper of Jehovah God. The Bible refers to Rahab as an outstanding example of faith. Her story illustrates that God is both forgiving and impartial, blessing those who trust in Him regardless of their background. Deborah was a prophetess and wife of Lapidoth. She was the only female judge and military leader mentioned in the Hebrews Bible. She inspired the Israelites to a mighty victory over their Canaanite oppressors. Like Deborah, we are called to be self-sacrificing, courageous, and always encouraging to do the right thing in God's eyes. Ruth is a Moabite woman who marries a Judean immigrant named Mahlon. Upon his death, she becomes a childless widow who chooses to accompany her mother-in-law, Naomi, to Judah. Ruth is an example of bravery, obedience, love, faith, trust, and humility. She is of noble character, very hard-working, and takes care of those around her. Most importantly, she trusted her life to God even in the midst of the great pain she was experiencing. God turned the heart of a good man named Boaz towards Ruth, and he became her husband. She is the great-grandmother of King David and the ancestor of Jesus. Anna was the wife of Elkanah and the mother of the great prophet Samuel. Anna's heartfelt prayers helped her to endure trials. She longs for a child, and seeing her perseverance, God blesses her with a son, to which she is very grateful. In spite of her great love towards her only son, she is faithful in keeping her promise to God and consecrates him in the temple. Like Anna, we are called to be perseverant, grateful, faithful in keeping promises, and to love God above everything else. Sarah was the daughter of Tobit's closest relative, whose 7 successive husbands were killed by a demon on their wedding night. Sarah then marries Tobias, the son of Tobit. Both of them pray to God for deliverance, and God sends angels Raphael to act as an intercessor. Like Sarah, we are called to put our faith and trust in God till the end, and He will surely reward us. Judith was a virtuous, pious, and a beautiful Jewish widow. She left the besieged city of Bethulia in Israel in pretended flight and foretold Holofernes that he would be victorious. Invited into his tent, she cut off his head as he lay in drunken sleep and brought it in a bag in Bethulia. Thus God delivered the Jewish people by the hand of a female. From Judith we learn that the weak can prevail over the strong as long as God is on their side. Esther was a Jewish woman who was chosen by the Persian king Ahasuerus to become his queen. Queen Esther set an outstanding example of courage, humility, and modesty. Despite her beauty and position, she sought counsel and help. When speaking with her husband, she was tactful and respectful but bold. And at a time of great danger for the Jews, she courageously identified herself as one of them. Thus, the story of Esther emphasizes the power of God, instructing us that we should use the blessings given by God to help others. Susanna was the wife of Joachim, a wealthy man, and the daughter of a pious man called Hilkiah. She was a beautiful, righteous woman, trained according to the law of Moses. The 2 lustful elders were spying on Susanna as she was bathing. They conspired to blackmail her by committing adultery with a man if she refused to give in to their lust. Susanna chose to please God rather than man. She was ready to be accused falsely of adultery, but she did not give in to the temptation of those lustful elders. She trusted God and that He would deliver the innocent. God sent Daniel to vindicate her cause. Thus Susanna was an ideal model of purity, faithfulness, long-suffering, decency, and reliance on God. Abigail was the wife of a wealthy but a harsh man named Nabal. Abigail, however, was discerning and humble as well as beautiful, both physically and spiritually. To keep peace, she was willing to apologize to David on behalf of her foolish husband. After her husband's death, she got married to David and became his second wife. Like Abigail, let us learn to handle a tense situation calmly with tact, courage, and resourcefulness. Jehosheba was the daughter of King Jehoram of Judah, sister to King Ahaziah of Judah, and wife of Jehoiada the priest. After the death of her brother Ahaziah, his mother Athaliah made herself queen of Judah and ordered execution of all members of the royal family that could claim the throne. However, Jehosheba saved her infant nephew Jehoash, Ahaziah's son, from the massacre. Thus, Jehoshabe's acts of bravery enabled the line of David and consequently the line of Messiah. Through Joash's survival, like Jehosheba, we are called to live and act on the truth of the Lord.